Hello and welcome into the AOC Malta Cyber Series Masters. This is going to be the last semifinal game between Raving Raptors Academy and the Rift Kings. We did not get a broadcast to you last week, so we are going to have this last game of the semifinals to decide who will be playing against Edge in the finals. Right after this, I am Alex, Magical Voice, joined in by Ender. Ender, what do you think going into this match?
Well, I think a lot of this is going to come down to the two carries of both these squads. Mid lane and AD carry going to be absolutely pivotal in this final match, and I think no matter the outcome of this game, it gives such an advantage over to Edge because they get to come out here, they get to watch these guys play a game. Not only that, but these guys, Raving Raptors Academy and Rift Kings, they had to spend a week of preparation for this match. This is their most important match of the entire tournament here, because if they lose this one, they don't even get a shot at the finals.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for both teams because Edge is such a strong team, so they get even more of that edge that they really don't need going into that finals game. But I'm still excited to see this game, regardless of how it goes, because like you said, this is the most important match. Whoever wins this gets to go into the finals, and honestly, this is probably more important than the finals games might end up being, because this is just a one and done kind of deal.
Yeah, and already, I mean, just look at this focus put onto Dexalute here. Vayne, Caitlyn, two AD carry bans. You usually don't see those guys taken off the table, but really wanting to hurt his champ pool, and knowing that Donut Dominator, he can play so many things. He's such a fantastic player individually that even trying to hit him with bans isn't going to do all that much. But if you remember, 2 weeks ago to the quarterfinals, he completely destroyed on Jace. It was such a ridiculous pickup for him. I wonder if they're going to put any priority on that one.
They might end up putting priority. It looks like the Syndra is going to be locked in for him. Still a pretty strong pick. I mean, she did get some nerfs, but it's not too devastating to her. She's still strong in this current meta, so I'm not too surprised to see that. And Skarner now being hovered.
Well, yeah, the Syndra pick has to be the story right here, because not only do they get the Syndra, they also get away with banning out the Vladimir, perceived as like the #1 counter pick into that matchup. And we've seen some mid laners here at MCS Masters taking Lux into her. We've seen some Echoes as well, but none of them have really performed all that admirably. And against Donut Dominator, you are going to have such a hard time, and Sadbest is going to be really put to the test here in this middle lane.
I mean, we could always see the Galio counter pick
Oh boy.
that Syndra. Well, it is technically a counter pick. I mean,
Technically.
yeah, technically, but no one knows how to play Galio, so highly doubt we're gonna see that.
A lot of people forget that he even exists.
Yeah. Hey, I like to play him in the jungle. So.
Oh boy. we're starting off strong, and we're starting off early. It's gonna be a long day.
I want to go back to the picks that we see from the Rift Kings. We see the Karma and we see the Skarner. I kind of like the combination of the Karma and the Skarner.
Yeah, I like both of those paired up together. Speed up the Skarner, get them on into those fights to lock down some of the backliners with the Impale, but the immediate response, and I love this, versus the Skarner, the Morgana pick. It's almost impossible now for Brandon to do really anything, especially early game down in the bottom lane, or anything towards the mid to late when the Raving Raptors are grouped up together. The Black Shield is always going to be there to protect two very immobile backliners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. That's a great pickup. And he really loves playing his Thresh, but his backup that he likes to go to is that Morgana.
Yeah.
He's really good on that Morgana, so I'm glad to see them pick that up. And actually, and look at this. They have the Maokai, too. That's another thing that's going to be great to have that Black Shield for.
Well, what I think Rift Kings are doing right now is they want to get as much crowd control, as much like point-click lockdown that they can, so that the Black Shield can only really stop one thing. So see Colonel teleporting in from the side with, you know, the Twisted Vance going on to either Donut Dominator or Dexalute. Well, then he has to decide, is it worth it to use my Black Shield now to protect them from the Maokai, or is Brandon going to be the primary threat? Is he in a position where he can flash onto one of those two carries, and do I need to save that ability for him?
Yeah, very true. And it's going to be interesting to see how that ends up going as we see squad locking in that Ezreal. We still have the Karma that technically can actually be flexed to the mid still.
Yeah, it could. I mean, theoretically, it could even go, you know, a whole variety of places. But
if we do tank Karma, I guess it could go top lane too.
Yeah, I don't know. But we'll we'll have to see. They are saving their last pick, and that's something that's really intelligent to do when you do have a flex that you pick up early in that game. But already, it is speaking a lot to these guys' strategies coming in here. We're seeing already the Maokai, maybe even the Nautilus from the other side. A lot of these big tanks to send up there into the top lane, looking for their mid laners, their AD carries to really pull them to the finish line here.
Yeah, well, we have the Nautilus and the Vi lock-in. Nautilus we'll talk about briefly. We've seen it a lot going to Maokai. Does pretty well into that. But the Vi, that's the one that's more important to me. And also the Lissandra. Elaborate on the Vi first for me.
Well, I don't think Vi's going to be really able to do much of anything in this game. You look at Rift Kings and who's a good target for your Assault and Battery, and Ezreal. That's probably your best bet is going on to him. But even then, he's going to be able to Arcane Shift, maybe even flash and bait you in too deep. And I've seen Skarner picked into the Vi because I think that works out fantastically. Because even with Courage the Colossus, we say is so overpowered and can allow Vi to get in those fights. Well, if Brandon impales Pabino as soon as he finishes that Assault and Battery, you're going to have little to no effect in those fights, and unless you have a Guardian's Angel or a Quicksilver Sash, we might have to see Pabino itemize into that, or, use the Black Shield to engage the fights. It really is going to put a lot of stress on the Raving Raptors composition here, because now not only does Heathens have to worry about saving Pabino when he goes into the fights, but he also has to worry about his backliners getting jumped as well. And now, because the composition is kind of all over the place from Raving Raptors as far as who Heathens is going to prioritize, it's going to be fun to watch how Rift Kings do play around that.
Yeah, it will be really interesting to see, because Heathens, I think it's going to be a lot on him with that Black Shield, kind of like how you said, it's going to be, who does he choose, Donut Dominator or Dexalute, in order to prioritize for saving. But I kind of like the combination of Delrith and Pabino with that Vi and Nautilus, just for the earlier game. If they get a good early engage before we really see that Skarner kind of being able to pick up the steam, I think we could probably see the Vi getting ahead, but they have to get ahead.
Yeah, and actually, I'm kind of worried now for Raving Raptors Academy. Donut Dominator taking Flash as well as Ghost in that middle lane up against a Lissandra and a Skarner. If you get hit by one, you're getting hit by two, and if you don't have a cleanse to get away from that frozen tomb at the start, you are just setting yourself up for failure out of that middle lane, and you're not gonna have Heathens, your buddy there in that mid lane all the time. It's not a duo there, so Donut Dominator is gonna be really, really tested in this match, and it is gonna be difficult to get out of that laning phase without dying, once or even more than that.
Could we expect an early Quicksilver Sash pickup by Donut Dominator?
I mean, I'd have to expect that would be coming out from him, because we do see some mid laners like to go for that as like a second or third item up against the Lissandra. And especially without the cleanse, I think you really have to go for something like that. Unless maybe he starts running away with this game and he feels confident enough in himself. But in such a do or die matchup, it is interesting that you are going for an aggressive Ghost Summoner. We don't usually say Ghost is an aggressive summoner, but it is when you are faced off against Lissandra, because Ghost isn't going to be able to get you away from all the crowd control lockdown that a Lissandra is going to throw your way. You really do need the cleanse to escape from that.
Yeah, that's true. And the only thing is, cleanse doesn't work on Skarner's Impale anymore, right?
No, cleanse never worked on any suppressions. But Quicksilver Sash does.
Yeah, Quicksilver Sash, I knew that one did. So, because we've had that discussion, you know a lot about this. This is why you're the color caster, I'm the playback. You tend to know more of these little intricacies, while I'm just like, let's do memes.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's going to be an interesting matchup right now. I kind of like the Rift Kings comp, like you said. It's going to be really dependent on how Donut Dominator does in the early game. If he gets behind, it could be really telling of how things go for Raving Raptors Academy in the future, as well as where Heathens decides to prioritize that Black Shield. If they get ahead in the bot lane with Dexalute, it'd probably be better for Heathens to save it for Dexalute, so that way we can have more damage coming out of that gen. But it's gonna be interesting for the to say the least. And before we hop into the game, I just want to make a quick shout out to our sponsors: AOC Gaming, Go Malta Tourism Authority, esportsgaming.bet, Miney, GT Omega Racing, and the Gamers Lounge. Thank you so much for sponsoring this tournament, letting us bring this exciting conclusion for the day to this tournament, see who wins, especially in the semifinals game right now between Raving Raptors Academy and the Rift Kings. Should be very interesting. Also want to give a huge shout out to admins behind the scenes that are helping us out with everything so that we can give you such a great tournament. Thank you guys so much for the hard work you've been putting in.
Yeah, and this isn't even the most exciting matchup of the day. Whoever wins this game is gonna go up into the actual finals, which will be here shortly. TM, by the way, which that's when I'm really gonna get excited, because seeing Edge face off against these teams, and not to mention that we have no more undefeated teams left. Edge won in a 2-1 last week up against Hayes, and these guys, they're tied 1-1, and all 4 teams going into the semifinals had 0 losses in their records. Well, now everyone is kind of on an uneven footing still, with no one looking like the incredibly dominant team going into the finals.
Yeah, it should be really interesting. And we do have the underdog story in the Raving Raptors Academy. We've talked about it several times, being the academy team for the Raving Raptors, somehow beating their sister team, going undefeated in the group stage, then continuing that trend for a while. It's been really awesome to see this, and it would be exciting to see them in the finals for that Cinderella kind of story, but they're going against a really tough opponent in the Rift Kings.
Yeah, and I promised I wouldn't talk about that anymore, about the the upset.
I just want to give that quick little synopsis of
we got it out of the way. We got it out
of the way. That's it. We're good. We had to touch on it because we talked about it a lot last week, because we had to, and we have to talk about it briefly for now. So we'll see how it all ends up playing out here in this tournament as we load up onto Sepia Rift.
Yeah, we've stopped loading. We've frozen. I feel like this is something out of like a late '90s movie right here. Well, my computer's broken. Let's just kick it a couple times and we'll start. I don't know. I was kind of alive back then.
You're kind of alive, yeah. I mean, I'm a '90s kid through and through. Come on, man. You're making me feel old.
Is that accurate? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Late '90s, kick your computer to make it work. Early 2000s, you get like the Game Boy cartridge and you start like blowing in it to make it work.
That was the Nintendo 64, man. That actually goes back even to the NCS, dude. That's old school.
See, that was before my time.
Man, you don't even know what you missed.
I do actually, and I'm very sad about it.
Yeah. See that I appreciate that. At least you know that you missed some great things.
See, if I was born in the '90s, I'd be like I'd be a pro league player, to be honest. I'd be a pro player.
Yeah, you'd be a pro player, but
Feels
some
bad.
of us aren't that good at the game, and we just like memes. So
you can only choose one. It's either memes or the pro life.
Yeah, and we all know that I just have an addiction to memes that I can't pass up.
Oh boy. We're on the Rift.
We're on the Rift, and look at this. The Raving Raptors Academy, they're gun squatting it up. They're looking for an early kill. Heathens, I think he took the... Yeah, he did take the Dark Binding, so unfortunately got spotted out by that ward really quickly. Really good defensive ward by his squad.
Oh, I wasn't sure if they were actually, like committing to that fully, because Delrith was walking all the way down towards that bottom lane. A little bit peculiar right there.
I think they were afraid that they were going to get invaded on. Yeah,
fair enough. These guys, though, I don't think anyone really wants to take that aggressive step in this early game, because it really is just a best of one at this point, and those are so volatile, because the best team doesn't always win the best of one. If you have a rough early game or a rough call in there somewhere, everything kind of gets skewed around. And even though these guys, technically it was a best of 3, they both had 1 win apiece last week in part 1 of the semifinals. Well, now we get to continue that, and it really does come all down to this.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. I'm like, I'm sure it's a best of 1, and not the best team always wins, but the fact that it's a 1-1 series still does prove that both teams are very good, and they are deserving to have this best of 1 right now.
Yeah, very close, at least, we'd have to say. And interesting change up between these two junglers here. We've got Pibino going for potentially the level 3 into the bottom lane. That's so incredibly potent. And Brandon won't be able to follow suit. We don't really know Skarner's being a huge early game jungler, although he does have some avenues in which he can make the plays happen. But I think a big thing for Babino, if he does want to make it down to this bottom lane, would be A, not having his own 2v2 shoving in, and B, making sure it was before Squad got access to the Arcane Shift at level 2.
Yeah, that was the big problem, is they started shoving in. I noticed that too. I'm glad you touched on that, because that really does stop that early level 3 cheese, as we see in the top lane.
Ooh.
That's what I love about tanks in the early levels, is they have such high base damage. Oh, here comes
Oh.
the gank in the mid lane. They're going for sad best. They do hit the Salt and Batter.
Whoa!
Going in deep. Pabino, ooh! Did not take that last tower shot. Really close on that one. Does force the back out of sad best, but man, Pabino got close.
That was really, really questionable from Pabino. Not only had he already burned the flash from Sadbest, well, Sadbest still had the barrier available, so I think there might have even been potential for Sadbest to turn that one straight around onto Pabino right there. And gonna be lucky to survive after that, but very, very over aggressive right there, and not 100% on the same page, because if you're gonna flash forward, Donut Dominator kind of needs to as well.
Yeah, he's got to be ready for that. So it was questionable. Sure, it does burn the flash out of Sad Best, but didn't get the barrier, like you said. It's a very, very dangerous situation that Sabina put himself into.
Yeah, but what it will do is it will make Sad Best very vulnerable for the next couple of minutes here. And not to mention, he's out of potions now as well. Donut Dominator, though, not going to be able to punish because he's out of his mana bar. So a little bit unfortunate right there. Could have really accelerated this mid lane and shoved it into Donut's favor much earlier on than even he might have been expecting.
Yeah, and this is kind of what makes me miss seeing teleport in the mid lane. I don't know why. I always like teleport mid laners, just because it's like, oh, you run out of mana, get an early back, teleport into the lane really quick, and then you can punish so heavily once you get that level 4.
But there was no kills in the mid lane when he had that. Now we get to see, you know, ignites and ghosts and barriers and cleanses, and there's even less killing going on.
I was gonna say it adds variety, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's just one thing will always be the strongest, and everyone's kind of gonna go for that one. And in this case, it's typically Ghost that we see out of mid laners most often. But Lissandra is a champion that we actually do see take teleport quite frequently, even though that the days of that being run on every mid laner has kind of disappeared. The ability to just teleport into a bottom lane or a top lane and lock down your opponent so hard is nothing to be laughed at.
No. And I like what Delrith did in that top lane right there, trying to force Colonel not to back, being ready to dive if he needs to, because Nautilus can do that.
Yeah, always something you can do. And we saw both junglers now getting their first recall, and both going for Chilling Smite as well. A little bit fun right there. Gonna be able to get in range for everything a little bit more. I don't think it's quite as necessary on Pabino as it is for someone like a Skarner, because Pabino just has the point and click once you get to level 6, and you can't really Chilling Smite them when you're going for the Vault Breaker in, so it's more used to keep them in range for a couple of auto attacks, get that W off as much as you possibly can. But Pabino still hovering around this middle lane. Sadbest unaware.
Yeah, unaware, and looks like Pabino's going in with a claw. That is one thing about Lissandra, that claw is just, it's good. It's good at keeping her safe.
Well, the thing is, Donut Dominator needs to be able to cancel that one out every single time, but I think he'd actually already blown his stun a couple seconds before that play already happened. So once again, a little bit uncoordinated between the mid laner and the jungler for Raving Raptors Academy, and even excluding that, there we see a slight lead for Rift Kings right now, specifically up in the top lane as well as in the jungle. Brandon out farming, out pacing Pabino a little bit, and this really is kind of a race to level 6, but Brandon's here.
They're looking for the gank. They get the stun on a Donut Dominator. First blood, easy, making so Donut Dominator can't even use a summoner.
Yeah, that is actually pretty big right there. Donut Dominator getting taken down early in this match. And he's going to be able to get punished even harder because now Sadbest has unlocked his level 6. Brandon is going to be there very soon as well. And we're even seeing a quick rotation into an Infernal Drake to start things off. There's nothing Raving Raptors Academy can really do.
Yeah, that's a good pickup in getting that Infernal, especially when you get the mid laner. And it's kind of like you said, Donut Dominator, it's going to be really tough for you if you don't have any sort of cleanse in that mid lane against a Skarner and Sadbest on that Lissandra. As we see in the top lane, Delrith, he's going hard for Colonel. He's trying to get it. He already used the depth charge on him to try to force him back. So really interesting play in that top lane, as I think Delrith just wants to make it so Colonel has to back as much as possible, as Delrith hasn't even used teleport yet.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Delrith was actually down in CS a little while ago. I mentioned that. But he's been able to come back in it without using his TP. And that is absolutely huge when you're playing one of these gigantic behemoths in the top lane, like the Nautilus, like the Maokai. Being able to have your TP available and make it down to the bottom lane is very, very important. Now, there's no dragon up, so he's not going to be able to punish that. Because Donut Dominator died, it's going to end up not being a huge benefit to him, because Colonel's TP will be up quite soon as well. But the theory behind it is correct, and the decision making there was good from Delrith to hold on to that one so he could help out his team.
Yeah, I do like seeing top laners try to hold on to the teleport as much as they can, especially
If you don't
when
get
they're
punished,
ahead.
right?
Yeah, if you're ahead. If you're getting punished for it, you got to use it. You got to make sure to use it, like you said. But it makes it so that there's still that opportunity for Delrith to make a play, and you have to be careful on the side of the Rift Kings.
Yeah, you do. And Delrith just Nautilus base damage, I guess, winning out a little bit in this 1v1. Not to mention he also has the Bomby Cinder, which I think plays a huge factor into this as well, because Colonel, you look at his itemization, it is very much about this laning phase. Double Doran's Ring as well as a Corrupting Potion. You'd feel like he should be able to win out in these trades a little bit more than he is right now, because he's building for the lane. Instead, Delrith is building for the late game. He's building these items that are going to scale well and not fall off. That's what happens with Doran's items, and he's still winning, and that's just going to accelerate him into being that giant tank we know him to be even sooner.
Well, that's the thing about Nautilus that is great when building him tank, is he has the ability with that Titan's Wrath on his W. The shield actually gives him percentage health damage that he does when he builds more health. So it makes it so even if he builds this Bomby Cinder, he's actually not getting punished for it at all. He's getting benefits, so he just pops his Titan's Wrath and does more damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon, you saw him trying to make a play up there in the top lane, but that's not where you want to put your focus. No. Neither of these junglers want to do anything in the top lane, because it really doesn't mean all that much. But with the pressure he did gain up there, did get the little vision plant down there, the Scryer's Bloom, spotting out where Pabino was. But what that also does, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because now Raving Raptors Academy knows where Brandon is. So both those junglers kind of spotting each other out, and that'll mean that the mid lane, especially for Donut Dominator side, going to be playing very, very safe, because this guy can absolutely be punished. Yeah,
well, something that is important to note, though, is Delrith, we talked about him having that teleport advantage, but he never actually was able to use it to his advantage. Colonel now has teleport up, and they got nothing for Colonel burning it early while Delrith held on to it, so all in all, it ended up being kind of a waste for them.
Well, yeah, that was a lot to do with the early Infernal Dragon take, but now Sadbest might need to be a little bit careful here in this middle lane, but again, playing very, very safe. You're just looking at the minimap. He dashes across there. That's the Claw taking him out to safety. And Pabino's level 7 now. Brandon's level 7 as well. No one's been able to use their ults.
No. Ultimates haven't really been used. Here comes Pabino, forcing the flash out of Jangles, and the heal from Squad. So that's really good in that bot lane.
Yeah, the heal right there just being used as the movement speed, because both of those guys were pretty much full HP. Wasn't going to make too much of a difference right there. But again, everyone playing very safe.
Ooh. Sadbest does a lot of damage just kind of poking out Donut Dominator, trying to make it so it sets up for a good gank from Brandon later.
Yeah, well, we'll really have to see, because again, these junglers, they've got to start getting a little bit antsy here. Like, well, we need to use our ultis, we need to make something happen, and it is kind of fun to look at their itemization too. You see this warrior coming through from Brandon, going very aggressive on that Skarner, whereas on the other side, Pabino looks like he's going into maybe a Trinity Force rush.
Oh, look at Delrith in the top lane, forcing the flash out of Colonel. He uses the dredge line, hits him. He's got a lot of damage using that Bomby Cinder. There comes the Courage of the Claw shield, but he still gets the kill. Delrith getting a solo kill in the top lane.
Oh man, that's one of those fights right there, tank versus tank, where it's just a duel of will right there. Where it's like, how long are you gonna stay in here? Yeah, you're not doing much damage to me. I'm not doing much damage to you. One of us is going to come out on top at the end. Who's going to back away first? Colonel realized a little bit too late that it was him who really needed to get out of there a little bit earlier on, and gets punished for that.
Yeah, he does, and really good on Delrith getting that solo kill. That's going to help out them a lot with map pressure, because now it kind of might talk to King Brandon where he's going to
Whoa.
wait, here comes the Dark Binding hitting onto Jingles. They're going to get that kill. Here comes the Assault and Battery hitting on the squad. He hasn't used his flash yet. There's the Arcane Shift. Here comes the True Shot Barrage. He still has his flash. There goes the Fern. But Pabino, he wants to follow this. They get the double kill on the squad.
Yeah, Sadbest is coming around, though. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch him out. Brandon is here as well.
Brandon's here. He's trying to dodge away. He does get hit up. There is the slow coming in from the Fracture. He's going to use the Vault Breaker, but he's not going to be able to make it get stunned up. Kill going over to Brandon.
Yeah, still very, very worth right there for Raving Raptors Academy. 2-for-1 trade. Not going to be able to secure any pressure around that dragon. They would have loved to been able to pick that one up for themselves. But another huge benefit to them is because Delrith is crushing up here in this top lane, is that there's no way for Colonel to teleport down bottom. So they can go aggressive, dive underneath the turret. It just ended up that Sadbest was able to rotate out of the mid lane a little bit quicker.
Yeah. And it is the pickup, but like you said, it's going to be more of a benefit for Raving Raptors getting a lot out of the bot lane, especially that flash on squad. Even though he has Arcane Shift, it makes it so he's vulnerable to repeat ganks whenever Pabino wants to come back with that Assault and Battery.
Yeah, and I want to keep my eyes here on Pabino's build as well. He is rushing that Trinity Force. Pretty interesting out of him, quite honestly. It's going to take a lot longer to come online than you typically see from a warrior. But the fact that he's been able to pick up a couple of kills with a really nicely timed gank means that he's not really going to be punished by that. Now, if he meets Brandon in a 1v1 in the jungle, the warrior should win out right now. But once Pabino does complete that Trinity Force, it's going to be a pretty big spike for him. But one thing we have to worry about for both of these junglers is that once we start getting into these mid-game team fights, they are going to be very, very squishy, and if they do go in to get their ultimates on any of the backliners from either team, they are going to be looking at sacrificing their lives for the good of their own team.
Yeah, and that is definitely something you have to worry about when you build this more damage-focused kind of build on your junglers. But Pabino's not getting punished by it too much because Brandon's, like you said, doing the same thing. But still, it makes it really hard for them to engage any fights. Pabino especially, he's going to be the main engage unless they have Delrith in the area to start off these fights. While on the other side, Rift Kings, they have Sadbest, they have Colonel who can start off fights for Brandon, so Brandon can get in. We've seen multiple times Sadbest using the Claw to get in, get that snare onto whoever they need to with the Ring of Frost, and Brandon being able to follow that up.
Yeah, and another player to watch as far as itemization is concerned is going to be Dexalute on this Jhin down here, because he started off with the Yomus. We still see some players like to pick that one up, but after that, I believe we typically see them transition into more critical chance, heavy build, focused build right there. And he has another longsword, which I guess could maybe go into an Essence Reaver if he so desires, but that same old-fashioned armor pen, now lethality build, not quite as popular.
Yeah, I still see some people going for the Duskblade of Drakthar on Jhin. I'm not a huge fan of it personally, but I still see that happen every once in a while.
Yeah, a little bit worse than it used to be. Yeah. I really do think. So just gonna be checking that out as time progresses on here. Sadbest, I believe he did this on the Sandra last week as well, where he went for the early Rod of Ages. Another build that has kind of died away in favor of the Hextech Proto Belt. But just gonna trade off a little bit more early power, being able to close that gap.
Oh, here comes the flash from Brandon. They're going in for Donut Dominator. Get the Ring of Frost on a Donut Dominator. Get the kill on him. Assault and Battery was used by Pabino, but Pabino, he's in a really bad spot. He's being locked up. Ooh, he does dodge in that one, but the flash coming in from Sadbest helps them secure the kill.
Yeah, that was really, really good there from Brandon, flashing onto Donut Dominator. Not a difficult play at all. You just flash and ult him up, lock him down, pick up a dragon for yourselves as well. A Cloud Drake, which your team is going to love. It's all about getting in range to lock down the enemy team. Well, Cloud Drake is going to do just that. And because the Rift Kings are much more utility focused than damage focused, I'd say, with their composition, I think that is a fine Drake to pick up alongside the Infernal Drake that you got 6 minutes ago.
Yeah, there are certain times when the Cloud Drake is beneficial. I think Skarner and Hecarim are definitely two champions that actually prefer that one, because it really does help them get into fights. Olaf kind of, a little bit. It does help him get that movement speed he needs to get to the back line a little bit more. So, going to be a really good pickup for the Rift Kings, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Rift Kings kind of play around this as we watch this Wet Noodle fight in the top.
Yeah, Delrith actually losing this time around.
Well, that was a teleport coming in from Colonel where he had full health while Delrith was at half. So we have to
That
keep
helps. That typically helps.
Yeah, we have to keep that in
Babino's
mind.
here though. This is
Yeah,
cheating.
Babino's here, but he does not have the Assault and Battery. Misses the Vault Breaker so that they don't get the lockup as we have Sepia Rift coming in at probably a bad time.
I lagged. Why didn't my Q hit him? Babino says.
Babino mumbles to himself.
Yeah, what you gonna do right there? But actually, the really big thing about killing Babino right there, you know, we've been checking out his build this whole time. Well, he goes back and now he has to buy Mercury Treads when he'd really love to have farmed up for that Trinity Force. A 17-minute Triforce, 16-minute Triforce would have been just about on pace for him. That would have been really good, but instead he is quite delayed on that. And Brandon, he's already got the Warrior because he's sitting at 3 kills right now, as well as a Phage going to be building up into a Trinity Force of his own.
Brandon's now in the top lane as we saw Donut Dominator kind of roam up there. So, didn't really end up getting much, but they do. I would say it's an advantage going over to the Rift Kings. Gives Colonel a little bit of that control over the top lane that he kind of desires and really needs to get. And he has taken the CS lead now.
Yeah, it's still very close up there in the top lane. Again, a battle of the wills up there. Who's going to back away first? But going back to Sadbest here in the middle lane, same build as he did last week, a little bit odd there, building a ton of HP with the Rod of Ages. Now he's going to be going into that Proto Belt, even has a Null Magic Mantle there just to soak up a little bit more damage from Donut Dominator, even though he's having a fantastic time here.
Here goes the engage onto Donut Dominator. They're going to get this flash coming in from Donut Dominator, but look at that. They got the kill. Assault and Battery by Pavino, just a little too late, and he's in a bad spot. Impale being used onto him, and he will drop. Double kill going over to Sadbest.
Yeah, Sadbest didn't even need the assistance of Donut Dominator, completely trashing this middle lane. Really good stuff from them, even picking up the first turret of the game. And they might not even be done. There's no one really to respond here in the mid, and they're pressuring 2 turrets now at the same time. They are about to swing up so much in the gold because they've already got a 3,000 gold lead. Well, add on a bot lane turret, that's about 1,000 gold. Mid lane turret as well. That is huge.
Man, they really were able to push that, and that's got to be a little bit on that damage build that Brandon's bringing in. Being able to just chunk out towers with that attack damage.
Yeah, well, that as well as killing both the mid laner and the jungler for the other team at the same time. I mean, even Delrith comes down to that middle lane. He's way too late to respond. Going to be denied a little bit of his own up there in the top lane. And now because he's the only member of Raven Raptors Academy who still has an outer turret, well, guess what? Here comes Squad, here comes Jangles. They're going to be pathing up to the top lane to collect on yet another structure worth of gold.
Yeah, and we saw it go from a 500 gold difference between the two to swing up to almost 5,000 now. Whew. So, well, for about 4,000, 4,100, 200, I think it's where it's at. So we're getting a really big swing over towards the side of the Rift Kings.
And look at it once again. Pabino still can't pick up the Triforce. This is the issue with that build. It takes so long to come online, and now that he's been punished 1, 2, 3 times in a row, remember he started off the game with a double kill. Then he died 3 times in a row. He's done really not that much for his team, and him and Donut Dominator have been getting punished.
A lot of it has to be Donut Dominator getting absolutely massacred by Sadbest. Sadbest doing his best, but gets the kill on the top lane to Delrith being taken down, as they did get the kill on the Sadbest from Heathens showing up to secure that kill, but still, that's 2 for 1.
Not just a 2 for 1, but look at what Rift Kings are going to do with the kill they just got. They're going to take a top lane turret. Raven Raptors Academy, they're trying to defend from a split-pushing Maokai. They cannot punish and gain anything off of that. So again, this gold lead is going to continue to expand for the Rift Kings. And now the entire jungle has started to belong to them. And Colonel, he's like just going in down here. Look at this guy's a monster.
Yeah, he does not care. He knows that Dexalute and Heathens don't really have that kill potential on him at the moment. It's going to be really hard for them to be able to punish Colonel at this stage.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the scary thing, too, is Sadbest still isn't as strong as he's going to be in this game. He only has 5 stacks on the Rod of Ages. It's going to be getting better and better and better. 2 Trinity Forces just now complete for the Rift Kings. Brandon and Squad just cashed in. Pabino still has nothing, no first item. This is why you hardly ever see the Triforce rush, except on champions like Hecarim, who really just use it so well. Vi can use it decently and now finally has it for herself, but she is significantly behind in this match.
Yeah, and that's very unfortunate and a very awkward build choice in my opinion. It might have been a little better had you gone for the Warriors and then just gone straight tanked after that on Vi, so that you could really get to the back line, really help out your team, because now you're in such a weak spot as Vi.
Yeah, well, but you're also in this position where who else on your team is going to do damage? You're not your mid laner. Donut Dominator's not in a good spot. Dexalute.
Heathens was about to get engaged on by Brandon. There was the Death Brush being set up by Sadbest and Brandon. They were looking for that as Delrith has shown up in the bot lane, but Colonel still has his teleport and can join this fight at any time.
Yeah, Raven Raptors Academy wanted to punish with an extra man, but even then, very hard to do, especially with an Infernal Drake spawning as well. The recall just got canceled from Delrith, so they are going to be taking a lot of pressure. He's still trying to base, even though this Infernal has already been started up from the Rift Kings.
It's been started up. I think thinks he can teleport in, but they're just going to forfeit that. Let it go over. And another Cloud Drake. Wow, the RNG is really in favor of the Rift Kings right now.
Are you sensing the pattern? Fire, air, fire, air.
I mean, we could technically have another fire come next.
I mean, at some point, the pattern is going to get destroyed once we hit 35 minutes. But for now, at least, we can pretend like, you know, we know it's going to come after this one.
So it's definitely a scary thing for the Raven Raptors Academy, as they haven't gotten any objectives across the map and are really being punished for not having that control that they need.
That's just going to be such an issue for them here.
Oh, Pabino is being engaged on. There comes the root used on the Pabino. He tries to assault and battery. They're trying to go for Sadbest, who uses the Frozen Tune on himself, but is able to flash out and stay really healthy because of that heal it now gives. Pabino, Donut Dominator, and Delrith are being beaten by just 2 people in Colonel and Sadbest.
But that's not even the craziest thing. What it does is it opens up everything, and they're still delaying. And look at this. They're getting poked out so heavily. Pabino is probably going to go down on this when they miss the icicle, but they still get the kill. Colonel picking that up, and here's the rest of the team now showing up for the Rift Kings. We see the Dark Binding hitting onto Sadbest, but really it's not going to help out much as Delrith. He is being focused, and he might drop in this one. The shields are helping him. He does finally die as the Curtain Call is hitting onto members, but it doesn't matter. They're so tanky at this point. They still pick up the kill, getting 3 for themselves for none, diving an inhibitor tower at 23 minutes. That's absolutely nuts right here. I don't know what Donut Dominator and Dexalute can do. The answer is going to be nothing here. The turret is down. The base is open, and Rift Kings, they want to go to the finals.
Yeah, they really are making a statement here, as it's 24 minutes and they're wailing on an inhibitor tower, and they're not afraid of the side of Raven Raptors right now. They're finally backing off after getting that inhibitor, not really being punished for it.
Yeah, nothing that Raven Raptors Academy can do because they're losing the 2v3s, the 3v2s for them. They have the extra man. They should be winning those.
Poor Jangles.
I mean, gets stranded, but he's going to be pulled across towards that finals if if this match keeps going in favor of Rift Kings, because right now, Raven Raptors are under so much pressure. 9,000 gold, super minions. They don't own their own jungle, and now the Baron is a real possibility, and the Raven Raptors, they will have to sacrifice their bodies in order to get in towards that pit.
Yeah, right now it's just all looking upside down for Raven Raptors Academy. It doesn't look like they stand much of a chance, as Rift Kings are having such a dominant game here, showing up like they did in the group stages, trying to say that they are the ones that deserve to play against Edge. And honestly, the only way they can lose this one is if they try to throw the game with a weird Baron call.
Yeah, but even if they do go for this Baron, it's going to be hard to lose a fight around that objective. Remember, Pabino diving into the enemy backline. Well, all he's got is the Triforce. He's very squishy. The only one that can really soak up damage right now would have to be Delrith, and even he, not quite as strong as he would really like to be at this point in the game because of how far Rift Kings have been able to accelerate their advantage, how far they've been able to put themselves ahead in this match. The only strange thing right now from Rift Kings is that they aren't using their sweeper on the actual Baron pit, but that's because the turrets are their main objective.
Yeah. They're not really caring about the Baron at this moment. They don't want to throw. They're going in for Heathens, who got hit by that Ring of Frost, but Blackshield's a little too late, as we see just getting disengaged while Delrith fights Colonel in the bot lane. And I think the biggest story for this one is, we talked about it a lot, Donut Dominator, when he gets ahead, Raving Raptors, they'll win the game.
Yeah, he gets 25 kills.
But look at this. They really made sure to put an emphasis on Donut Dominator in this game. Brandon making sure to constantly be in that mid lane to put him down.
Yeah, well, if Donut Dominator took cleanse, he never would have died for that first gank. He would have been able to cleanse, flash away, been okay, and still level 6 would have been very worrisome for him, but then you can start to play around it. Pabino could have gained vision control around that middle lane, but at the point we got to, he was losing 1v1s.
Yeah, he was, and it's really devastating for them. We see the engage coming in from the side of Raving Raptors Academy as they try desperately to save this inhibitor.
Oh, Pabino.
He goes into the back line by himself. He gets wailed away and dies so instantly. Donut Dominator is going to be targeted as we see Heathens getting impaled. Double kill going over to Brandon as Colonel is able to pick up the kill on the Donut Dominator. This game is looking over for the side of Raving Raptors Academy as it's 27 minutes in and they're diving Nexus towers.
Yeah, all the Raving Raptors fans gonna be soaking up some tears after this game. Brandon's gone, but I don't really think it matters.
No, I don't think it does. That sucks for Dexalute. That was his first death in the game. It comes as the Nexus is being wailed on. That is going to be a 27-minute game. Going over to the Rift Kings, who will now be facing off against Edge in the finals.
Oh yeah, we're going to be getting that game to you guys quite soon in this match. But Raving Raptors, they're not going to be done just yet. There will be a third place match coming up between them and Hayes over the course of the next week. We'll get you the details on that a little bit later on, but definitely unfortunate for those guys. But Edge, they've been looking at this game, they've been watching, and they're going to be able to take away some key points and use that to hopefully get a slight advantage going into our next match.
Yeah, and that's something that's definitely worth talking about, is that advantage that Edge will have. They've seen that Brandon can really show up on the Skarner, and that is something you have to respect. Probably going to see a cleanse if it does make it through the picks and bans.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. For now, actually, it was Delrith who did the most damage in the game on a Nautilus. Congratulations, the one shining light for the Raving Raptors Academy lineup. We are going to take a quick break before we get into those hyped up finals. It will be Rift Kings versus Edge. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a minute.
All right, pick up the game.
Yo! Go, 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 go! Pass the ball! You can look at the ball and walk backwards. You see, that's how you do it.
Watch TV anywhere for free on 4G. Now that's something worth shouting about.
What if we could change the way we see the world? Rediscovering ourselves through the people we meet and the moments we share. Each experience, every encounter, changes our perspectives, leading us to live life our own way. Miney, money my way.